Welcome to this episode of Consider It Blacklit. I am Kim, your host, and for those of you tuning in for the first time, Consider It Blacklit highlights films, television programs, and stage plays that feature African Americans up front and behind the scenes. We also discuss social issues as it relates to some of these programs and how they may or may not impact our communities. So thank you for tuning in, and we hope you continue to tune in each week. Today it is my pleasure to highlight an off-Broadway play, Blues for an Alabama Sky. It's the summer of 1930, and the creative spirit of the Harlem Renaissance is giving way to the realities of the Great Depression. In an apartment building on 126th Street, 5 passionate and progressive friends carve out a future for themselves within a changing city. Let's take a look at the clip. Today it is my pleasure to have one of the actors and a longtime friend of mine of Blues for an Alabama Sky, Sheldon Woodley. Welcome, Sheldon.
Hey, what's happening?
So good to see you. I haven't seen him in forever, but he is a very, very talented actor. So Sheldon, tell our audience about yourself. Who is Sheldon Woodley?
Sheldon Woodley is a kid from the Bronx, New York, first generation American. My family's from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and they're from a little town called Bible. I went to West Virginia State University, where I did my first show, first complete show. I met my mentor, Ernie McClintock, who was he was a big part of the Black Arts movement in Harlem during the
1960s,
like 70s, in the 60s,
70s,
mainly
yeah.
70s, strong in the 70s and 80s. And then I met him when he moved down to Virginia. I met him in 2000s, and he's had a huge influence on, how I look at the arts in theater. Not just theater alone, just arts in general, kind of just molded my mind of just how to look at just different genres of just art. So he was a huge influence, and sadly he passed away, and I was looking for a theater home and realized the shows that I wanted to be in that I needed training. So I was like, okay, this is not going to work, just winging it. And after like a year or so after he passed, I decided that I was going to apply to conservatory, and I applied to Yale, NYU, and Juilliard accepted me. And went there for another 4 years, and then here I am now.
Here you are. That's amazing. So tell our audience about the character that you play.
The character I play, his name is Sam Thomas. He's a doctor. More specifically, he's an obstetrician. He's delivering babies during the Renaissance, when there's a huge population boom in this little city called New York. More so Harlem, it's specifically Harlem, and it was just a huge boom, and one of the few, I guess, Black doctors during that time delivering babies. And so he's pulling the babies out, probably 2 to 7 babies a day. He does his job, but he likes the nightlife. So
He's
doctor
single?
by day, he's single.
Okay.
He is single, and he goes to the blues. He loves blues. He likes to listen to blues and have, his what they call it, bathtub gin. You know, he has his bathtub gin, and then he gets right back to work. So he's just always going. And he lives in both worlds. He hangs with the politicians, community leaders, and then at the same time he hangs with the artists. So he lives in both worlds.
Wow, that's a very interesting character. So tell us, how did you become involved with the play?
I became involved. Well, I auditioned. I got called in for an audition. Through the director of the play. I guess he requested me to come in for the audition. I worked with him, L.A. Williams is the director. He did a play at the Juilliard School in 2017. Fathers Come Home, Father Comes Home from the Wars, parts 1 and 2. I play like a 150-year-old man.
150?
Basically, I'll show you the picture.
Okay.
It looked like Frederick Douglass. It was the first time I got a chance to wear a wig. So I was excited about it. But anyway, I worked with him on that, and it was just a great experience. And I guess he remembered me, and he called me in. It was actually the 50th anniversary at the Juilliard School. The school called me back, which was great, and I got a chance to do a scene with Stephen McKinley Henderson.
Oh, wow.
Doing a scene from Joe Turner. You
Oh, wow.
You saw
I
Joe
remember
Turner,
Joe
right?
Turner, yeah. That's one of my favorite plays by August Wilson.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the gems.
Yeah.
And we did a scene. I was bugged. I was doing a scene with Stephen McKinley. It was just crazy. So I got to do a scene with him, and it was like a homecoming. It's like first time Juilliard, I guess, was able to bring back a lot of alumni. So you just seen all these people we see on TV. It was just amazing. It was almost like going back to Howard for homecoming, but it's for our art school. It was amazing. And then I did the show with L.A., who directed that show. And so I auditioned, and I did well.
You got the part. Excellent, excellent. How did you prepare for your character?
Well, just like most of the roles I would take on, it's just a lot of research. Just trying to find anything I get my hands on. Internet, YouTube is big, documentaries, books. Pretty much doing that. Just looking up to see if you can find interesting things. I don't get a chance to do the groundwork. Like maybe I could go in the hospital and just look at somebody or find some. My kids just no, you stay here. You stay right here.
Okay. Well, you have a little experience. You have 2 beautiful little ones, so
yeah,
that's a little
I guess
bit of
so.
a process.
I guess I saw them.
Yeah.
Come into this world.
Okay, so you're not totally unexperienced with that. So you mentioned you went to Juilliard, which is a very prestigious school. How has training there prepared you for what you're doing right now?
Again, just preparing me for any role. What I was able to get from Juilliard, and I would say this probably for any conservatory, you get just a toolbox of just different things to use when you're in trouble, I guess. Sometimes you don't need the whole thing, but you get so many tools and options to pull out of your bag of the things that they teach you. Yeah, just to be disciplined and to have a process, and try to pretty much stay with the process that because just like I had a preview the other night. I was going the whole night. I didn't really sleep, and I was telling myself, well, I don't want to harp on it too much and do the things that I do, like lay on the floor, relax, do my breathing exercises, do what we call a track, just kind of map out where I go on the stage. So it's just kind of routine. And I didn't do it. And the whole night, I was just off. And when you're off rhythm of what the play is, you just kind of feel yourself trying to catch up. So what schools like Juilliard, conservatories, they kind of help you develop a process that that works for you. Everybody's process is different, but that's the main thing, is just giving you a process, a way of working. So it's helped me with this.
Awesome, awesome. So your character, it sounds like a very interesting character. How is it similar to the real Sheldon Woodley?
So this character is, I guess he has a lot of life. He likes to enjoy life. He loves doing his work. He's very committed to his community. And he also likes to have fun. You know, he works very hard, and I would think, you know, in the business of delivering babies, without going into detail, there are a lot of different situations that you find yourself in. Some people, I guess, could take it for granted, but not to go into that specifically, but that's a very stressful job. It can be. So he lives his life too. He's single, and I guess some people say I have a larger than life personality sometimes. You know, some of my castmates might say, you know, tell you some of the things that I do in the dressing room. I like to sing. I like to have fun. You know, so
that's a Sheldon I know.
So we're pretty similar in that sense.
That's good. That's good. So speaking of the your other actors in the play, tell us about them.
Great. We have, you know, the two gentlemen that I share a dressing room with, John Andrew Morrison, and Kyrie, Alfie, and Jasmine. And actually, Jasmine, she's actually a graduate from Juilliard herself.
Oh, wow.
So
did you know her there, or you just both happened to be
No,
from
I
Juilliard?
did not. I was wondering, I thought I met her one time in the hallways, but I can't remember, because she's group 45 in drama. It goes from group 1, which Stephen McKinley was part of group 1, all the way up to now, which 50 was in 2017 when I did that show. So I don't know where they are now. I don't feel like doing the calculation. But anyway.
That's okay.
So
We're
they're
not gonna
just
make you
over
work
50.
hard before the show.
Yeah, they're just over group 50, a couple of years over group 50. So I'm group 38, she's group 45.
Oh, okay, cool. So I wanted to mention that this is the 100th anniversary of the start of the Harlem Renaissance. And I think it's very appropriate, and I think that's why I'm going to encourage people to come see the play, because it's set in the Harlem Renaissance. And saying that, who is one of your favorite artists from that era?
Got to be Paul Robeson. You know, he's the Renaissance man.
Right. He's amazing.
He's the Renaissance man, like a fighter, actor, activist, opera singer. He probably did some paintings too. I'm not sure. He
probably did.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely.
So this play was written by Pearl
Clegg,
right? And it's a very classic play. Has she seen this version of the production? Have you ever met her?
I have not met her. I've heard a lot of things about her. From what I hear, she has a beautiful spirit in the sense of just making sure that she stands up for, especially, you know, women. I think she's definitely a feminist in that sense, and just fighting for women's voice, women's rights. And when you come see the play, you understand why. It deals with a lot of different issues, a lot of issues that we're dealing with today. This is from a publication. I guess they interviewed her, and she says this is why she writes. So it says, Clegg calls herself a black nationalist feminist, and her writing reflects this sensibility in her book of essays, Deals with the Devil and Other Reasons to Riot. Clegg outlines the reasons why she writes. I am writing to expose and explore the point where racism and sexism meet. I am writing to help myself understand the full effects of being black and female in a culture that is both racist and sexist. I am writing to try and communicate that information to my sisters first, and then to any brothers of goodwill and honest intent who will take the time to listen. I'm writing because 5 women a day are murdered by the men who say they love them. I'm writing because rape is. I'm writing because I am a daughter and a mother and a lover and a sister and a womanist. I'm writing to understand. I am writing so I won't be afraid. I am writing so I won't start crying again. I am writing because nobody even said the word sexism to me until I was 30 years old, and I want to know why. I'm writing because I have seen my friends bleed to death from illegal abortions. I am writing because I have seen my sisters tortured and tormented by the fathers of their children. I am writing because I almost married a man who beat me regularly and with no remorse. I am writing because my daughter is almost old enough to start dating, and to start quote unquote dating, and I don't know how to tell her to protect herself from what I cannot even fully articulate myself. I am writing to allow myself to feel the anger. I am writing to keep from running toward it or away from it or into anybody's arms. I am writing to find solutions and pass them on. I am writing to find a language and pass it on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's deep, right?
Yeah.
She's pretty intense.
Yeah. Well,
But I can't wait to meet her because I think she's coming opening night.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of excited to meet her.
Oh, cool. This play has been reproduced over and over. I know Felicia Rashad was in a 1996 version of it at the Arena Stage in Washington, D.C. Why do you think this play is such a classic?
I think it's a classic because it's dealing, I think it's ahead of its time. It's definitely ahead of its time, and most plays, or most playwrights, visionaries, they write things that you'll be talking about 20 years from now.
Right, that
And
can stand the test of time, right?
Yeah, I think part of it is that, she has an openly gay character in this play, and this play was done in the early.
Oh, it's before 1996 because.
Right,
yeah,
yeah, in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And, that's still a conversation today. She was talking about that in a play, and one of the main characters is openly gay. And I think that was huge. And we're having these conversations now. That's just very relevant now. When you come see the play, you understand why.
Yes, you'll have to come see the play. You'll understand why. So let's talk about some of the other things that you've done. I know you were a photographer, art photographer, and I know your wife has a floral business, and both of them kind of dabble in creativity.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's funny. Like, I do photography. I don't do as much because I have my 2 kids, and I really focus more on the business when I'm not in the show. I do focus more on the business with my wife. It's a small business, but we do a lot of big events, and our ideas, it's funny. Like what art teaches you when you learn process. Everybody's process is different, but you have almost a similar way of how you go about creativity. And like I have a knack for composition, and in flowers you have to know texture and how to use soft with hard, and tones. You have to know how to use tones. And I was able. It's like when we first started, doing the business together. She kind of saw that naturally I'm really good at spatial reasoning. So when I go set up events, I'm more the person that knows, like, okay, this is uneven, or this needs to be set here or there. So we kind of help each other in that way with our understanding of spatial reasoning and just process and what goes into setting up events and flowers. Setting
Sounds
up
like a perfect compilation between you and your wife.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're going to put on the screen anybody who wants to find out about the floral business and about Sheldon Woodley Nows. We're going to put that on the screen in case they want to follow you on social media.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have any closing words? Oh, but let me just emphasize, we want you to come see Blues for Alabama Sky. It's running now through March 14th at Theater 5 at Theater Row, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you get to see Sheldon's bigger-than-life personality, his character, which is like his real personality.
Somewhat.
Somewhat. Any closing remarks before we sign off?
Oh, just come out and have a good time.
Just come on out.
Just come on out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's this is one one of the cool things I want to say about this play is that it's set in Harlem, and this is one of the few plays that I've seen come, I guess since like the Negro Ensemble era, where there's a play that's set in New York that's about Harlem and it's in New York City. So I think it's so cool. We make references to Adam Clayton Powell Jr. and Abyssinian, so it's cool to hear those names in the streets, and we're here in New York, and so come out for that reason, especially if you're a true New Yorker. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they will come out and see it.
Yeah.
And everybody, thank you for tuning in today. Thank you, Sheldon Woodley,
Thank
for
you,
speaking
Kim.
with me today. Make sure you come out and see Blues for Alabama Sky. So I had mentioned earlier that Sheldon and I go way back. Back in my filmmaking days, he actually starred in one of my short films. And if I can dig it up, I may show you a clip.
No, you not going to show a clip with it.
Don't worry. I may show you guys a clip.
This show a picture.
I may show you guys a clip. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. And until next week, consider yourself blacklit. Thank you. It'll be a good one.
Yo, what is up with these women, man? I mean, you tell them straight up, yo, I'm not looking for no serious relationship. I just want to have a little fun. You know what I'm saying? And then they say, hey, I'm all cool with that. The next thing you know, they start acting like you they man. You can't be with anybody else. Listen, that's not what we agreed on.
Listen, man, I am not even going to pretend that I know how women think. All I know is with my wife, one night, I was watching her shaking her fine ass at the club. And I remember thinking to myself, how am I going to get me a piece of that? Next thing I know, I was walking down the aisle. I'm still trying to figure it out. Because I was a big old hoe.
But man, come on, man. Sandy's a good woman. I mean, yo, she encouraged you to go back to school. She cleaned you up. Made you get your teeth fixed. Gave you some breath mints. Because your breath used to be kicking. You remember? But seriously, man, come on. Yo, I'm getting tired of this shit, man. I've been around, man. Ain't nothing out there. I want what you got, man. A nice home, a good wife, someone to come home to when you had a bad day. Man, I can't have these females coming to my crib at any given moment acting all crazy. Lisa was all cool when that stuff went down with Yvonne. And me and Lisa been friends for years. They say your mate should also be your best friend. Yeah. I think Lisa's the one. What you think about that, Tone?
My breath used to really stink, man.
Man, I'm trying to talk to you about something. You talking about your breath?
man. Hey, Lisa. Hey, yo, Lisa. Man, come here, open the door. And I know you inside because I saw you go in. Oh, you gonna try to ignore me? Oh, man, shoot, I ain't playing that, man. After you come here in my car, or when I ain't going out like no, all right?
Break out! Hello, I'm Kim Singleton, host of Consider It Blacklit. This show highlights films, television programs, and stage plays that feature African Americans both up front and behind the scenes. Tune in every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on Spectrum Channel 1993 in Manhattan, or you can stream it online from anywhere at mnn.org. Tune in and consider yourself blacklit.